Good morning, everybody, or afternoon. And oh, I have a long, loose hair. And happy Mother's Day to whoever out there qualifies to receive that wish. Okay. Bagging and boarding. DvsM 1979 today. Not all of them. I won't be as productive doing this while I'm talking, but I at least want to get started. I've done a few. It's satisfying in the sense that, oh, I'm glad we're finally at this stage. It's also pretty tedious, and especially because it's just slow. Like 79 is a fat comic. It's a little, you have to be a little delicate easing it into these bags so you don't, I don't know, if you've never bagged comics before, you can just sort of zone out for this part. But if you're clumsy about it, you can split the seam and it'll just continue splitting all the way down as you try to push like the book in. So when 79 is as thick as it is, this is also ripe for a lot of kind of that's what she said stuff. When it's as thick as it is, you kind of have to be careful putting it in. I'm just going to stop right now before I open myself up to more weird little snippets. Anyway, going to try and, well, I'm going to actually bag up maybe all of the ones I ordered today. But at the very minimum, the minimum bar is to bag up everything that's been ordered so I can get it in the mail tomorrow. Now, some of these I'll have to kind of reopen to sign. I have a pile of packing slips over here that I printed up. I've got to go through and try to remind myself, like, who wanted a signature and, you know, just stuff like that. I'm not worrying about any of that right now. Right now, all I'm worried about is just, like, let's just get them boarded and bagged. And then I can go back and open them up and do whatever I need to do to them. So I've got my Comic Vantage Silver Age crystal clear comic bags right here, which is not gonna, I'm not gonna have enough for all my books, but a chunk. So I'm gonna use these up first. Silver Age, you can get, if you're buying bags, I found this out the hard way. There's Silver Age and then there's Modern. What's the difference? Silver Age is, if I remember right, and the comic experts out there will remember better, slightly wider. Just slightly wider. And I need that because, again, these books are fat. If I was doing normal size books, 20, 25 page books, I don't think it would matter. I think I could do either of those bags. But I need the extra width for DvsMs. So I think I still have a bag of modern age comic bags that I can't do anything with because all the DvsMs are too hefty. So anyway, I'm going to use up the rest of these Vantage bags. I have my pile of boards here. I think I've got like 100 boards here. I've got stacks off camera here of DvsM 1979, and I'm just gonna kind of slowly, oh, and I've got my Scotch tape to do, I don't know if this will come up on camera, but not only a nice little tape, but a little folded over. See that? Look how easy that will be just to lift and enjoy your book. So I've got my little assembly line set up here, and I'll be piling completed ones just off camera over here. But first, as usual, 3 books from the library. So in no particular order. This, for fans of true crime, I highly recommend, but with a caveat, and we'll get to that. Severed. This is about the so-called Black Dahlia murder. The murder of Elizabeth Short. I don't remember what year this was. 47. This was in, I don't know if it was LA or LA town, but it was basically LA. Elizabeth Short was how would we describe her? very attractive, wannabe starlet, popular with the gentlemen, turned up one day in a field, slashed up and cut in half, bottom half, top half, in this field. They'd never really seen anything like this. Was like Jack the Ripper kind of stuff in LA in the 40s, which was pretty new. Still unsolved. There's some kind of like the Zodiac thing. There are some likely, like, people they look at and they think like this probably could have been the person who did it, but they don't know for sure. Fascinating story. Really, really good true crime book. Here's the word of warning. Some of the most graphic photos I've ever seen in a true crime book right here. A lot of times, like if you get Helter Skelter or something about the Manson murders, it's very like they kind of redact parts and they like paint stuff out, and like it's hard, but it's not like full photograph. This has a lot of morgue and scene photos of Elizabeth Short. And it was, I remember when I first read this, and I was no, you know, babe in the woods. I had worked at the medical examiner's office. My dad was a homicide detective. Like, I had seen some things. I was familiar with what some of this stuff looked like. I had never seen anything like this when I read this book. It was pretty shocking. And a little, I don't want to say upsetting, but unsettling. There was like, I remember that night was kind of like, I read it just before bed, and that was a mistake. But anyway, it is a very good book. I would just caution anyone who's like, I don't want to see like pictures of some woman who got slashed up and cut in half. Well, then I would avoid this one. But it's an interesting story. You might want to Wikipedia it or something. Elizabeth Short, Black Dahlia murder. Okay. Let me check on the notes or the comments before I get to the last two books. They are very nice. Very, very nice. They really are. They're crystal clear. They are crystal clear. They're nice and shiny. They don't impart any kind of like weird color to, like, you're really seeing like just a glossy, perfect version of the book underneath. I do find, and this is not a complaint against the books, this is the problem that I'm kind of pushing them to their limit with like a 64-page book. I find they're not as elastic as some other bags. So if what I was talking about before, where you can accidentally, if you're not being careful, you can split the seam, it really wants to do that, you know. So I would just say, like, just to be clear, if you're shopping for bags, get Comic Vantage bags. They're great. They're beautiful. Though, if you're selling a fat book or you're doubling up or tripling up books in a bag, like, just be careful, I would say. Because I do feel like maybe there must have been, I don't know the science of it, but there must have been some mild trade-off, like to get the kind of, as beautiful as they are, the shiny clear, you were sacrificing a little bit of elasticity or something. I don't know. But anyway, but highly recommend. I know. I was nervous too. I did not expect it. Yeah, I was worried I was going to have to reach out to Comics Wellspring and say, like, hey, can I upgrade my processing time, my handling time? Because generally I never do. I just do normal production, and they tell you very clearly, it's like it's going to be 14 days or more. But it's never been 14 days or more from me. Like I've always been okay, so it's like I'll be fine. So I did normal production for 79. Then I was waiting for the proof. And I remembered when Squatch ordered books, I felt like he was waiting for a long time. And like once in a while, and I was like, oh, I might have called this wrong. And so I was just getting ready to like message them and say, I'll pay more to get it faster because this is getting too close to Fan Fusion. But then I got a notice that they were preparing it for shipment. So I was like, phew, that goes close. I think it was a field. I didn't think it was somebody's front yard. That would be a wild thing. Get up in the morning. I'm gonna go get the paper. Open the door. There's a naked person cut in half on your front yard. I thought it was a vacant lot or a field or something like that. It was in the city. It wasn't like out in the wild or anything. But I thought it was just, and it was weird because it was like not far off the road. It's really weird. Weird. Anyway, I remember the thing that was most disturbing in this the pictures were very disturbing, but what was most disturbing is a possible suspect interview where he's describing, now look, could be making it all up, you don't know, that he's describing the murder of Elizabeth Short, like how it all went down. And I still feel that some of his details are so weirdly specific and so not what I would imagine someone would just make up for weird, crazy, I want to confess to a murder reasons. I felt like, wait, hold on. I've got a mosquito. Did I get him? God damn it. Oh, there he is again. There is this mosquito that has been ruining my life. Wait a minute. Where did he go? This is great streaming. Shit. There's a mosquito that's been in the house that it's eluding capture. Oh, wait. God damn it. Oh my God. It's not a good spot. Shit. I think he went in my printer. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna let him be, but there's gonna be a comeuppance when I finally get him. Okay. Please don't give him any ideas. Yeah, here we go. Great. I'm assuming you're talking about the slightly less durable nature of the Vantage bags. But again, I'll make that trade. Like they're prettier, they're nicer. I like how they look. But if it's a fat book, you have to be a little more careful with them. Okay. So Elizabeth Short. Second one. This is a book. It was actually, I think, one of the books you had to buy in a Buddhism class I had in college by Robert Buswell, The Zen Monastic Experience. And just to show how much you can change. First of all, college feels like a past life, no pun intended, talking about Buddhism. Like, it's hard to, it just feels like you're a different person so long ago. Anyway, I read this book and adored it, and it actually had me seriously thinking about maybe once I graduate, just for the experience, I wasn't going to do it forever, but maybe just for the experience, I'll go and live as a Buddhist monk for a year, just to see what that's like. It's kind of inconceivable to me now. I still see what was appealing about it to me. Like it's not completely out there, but I think what's changed for me, even though it's a beautiful book, it's a very interesting book. And if you ever want to like, what's that like? I would recommend this book very highly. Today, the idea of, without getting completely into a weird philosophical or theological conversation, the idea of withdrawing from the world to understand the world better doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I feel like there's something artificial, like the wisdom. This is a hot take, maybe. Sorry if you're a Buddhist monk watching right now. But there is something kind of nonsensical to me about, and artificial about, any wisdom gained from isolating yourself from the world. I feel like the only wisdom you're going to gain is probably about the self, if that makes sense. So it's like, I don't see, but when in college, I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Okay, anyway. And then finally, something more comic-y, the book of Genesis, illustrated by Robert Crumb. Or R. Crumb, I guess. It's exactly what you would expect. It's very well done, as is all of his work. Let's see if I can come up with a good page. It's also, like all of his work, grotesque and bizarre, and I mean, it's meticulous. It's kind of beautifully done ugly. I think if I had to try and write the second commit to a sentence on R. Crumb, beautifully done ugly. Let's see here. I'm trying to come up with something good to show off. It's funny, I was flipping through this before we started and saw all sorts of things like, oh, I'll show that, and now I'm not finding any of it. I should have marked pages. Oh, come on, something, anything. Oh, this is fun, okay. I don't know how well it will show up on my camera anyway. All that searching might have been for naught. But Sodom and Gomorrah. Can I get that to focus better? This might be the limitations of 720p. But anyway, you know, Crumb. You know what that's all about. It's pretty great. One thing I particularly like, it's a small thing, but when he draws the serpent in the garden, so you remember the fable or whatever we're going to call it. The serpent has his little back and forth with Eve, and the whole apple thing happens, or not the apple, the fruit thing happens, and God curses the serpent to crawl around on its belly for the rest of time, you know, so implying that prior to that, the serpent had limbs, and he has the serpent as, I don't know if you can see this, like this funny little lizard man. Where is that? It's kind of fun. Anyway, 3 books. All right. Let's Baggin board. Let's see here. That's right. I didn't even think of that. Well, this is Buswell. That's why it didn't even occur to me. BU, but it's very close. Very, very close. Yeah, that's true. Don't you might just want to prepare yourself. Though, unlike the Elizabeth Short thing where you see everything, I think your doppelganger's fate is implied rather than explicit. So it won't be, I hope it won't be too difficult for you. Okay, let's bag and forth some comics. What's interesting, so I don't know if any of you have ordered a book from Comics Wellspring lately. Apparently what they're doing now, or they're offering the option, is there'll be like a paper, so there's your book, this is only for the staple bound books. There'll be your book, and there'll be a piece of paper on the very outside going all the way around that's perforated at the fold point, the binding, wherever you, I mean, it's not really a binding with the, whatever you would call that, the mid, where it's stapled, there's a perforation, and you tear it off. The idea being, I guess, it protects individual books. I thought I had opted for that when I ordered 79, and it showed up just the way it always does with these pieces of paper between every book. I don't, that's fine. Like, I don't care. And I didn't pay, like, it's a free option. So it's not like, oh, I paid for that and you didn't give it to me. I thought I picked it. It was free. I didn't get it. I think I'm fine with that because it feels like extra labor on my part, especially if you have a ton of comics to deal with. Like, you're tearing all this stuff off. But so I'm fine that it showed up the way it did, but I'm also curious about it. Okay. Carefully. There we go. You see, that's a tight fit. Like, it's okay. And I think the most labor-intensive part of it, not labor-intensive, but the slowest, the most tedious part of this is going to be the taping. But I like to tape because, first of all, tucking, again, increases the risk of splitting the edges. And if you tape it tight, it kind of helps. Well, I'll show you in a second. There we go. So if you tape it snugly, I want to show you this. So this is also kind of a fat book problem. Do you see this? There's two ways, like, I would prefer it flatter. There's two ways to do that. Now, what I do is when I pull one out for myself, I throw it between two heavy books on my bookshelf where it's real snug in there, and it will flatten it out. What also will flatten it out a little bit is if you put it in a tight bag and tape it tight. Like now, if it sits like this. This is also why I'm not just bagging and boarding the ones I'm shipping tomorrow. Ideally, I want to just do all of them. And then, I don't know if you can see, do you see that box right there? That's the restock of 75. And Tuesday, the restock of 97 shows up. So, and I'm intending to bring a supply of all three to Fan Fusion in a few weeks. So everything needs to be bagged. Everything needs to be bagged up. I actually have a new long box coming in the mail to help me. Like, inventory management is becoming a problem. And I have enough boxes if I hadn't been filling them with other comics I'm buying. So now I just need, I mean, and you know, the comic people out there, this is a familiar problem, like space, storage, it's becoming kind of a thing. Okay. Now, as I said, this is going to be slow because I'm talking. It'll go faster when I'm not trying to stream and do this at the same time, but it passes the time. What else? So, I was looking at Etsy today. Comic is selling well. Thank you for everyone who ordered one. This message goes out to people who intend to order one, but have not yet. On my side, I can see how many people have it on, maybe you can too, I don't even know, how many people have it in their cart. If everyone who has it in their cart checked out, I would be sold out. I'm not saying, another, oh, this is from the hair is getting out of control. It's maybe time for a haircut. I'm not, I lost my train of thought. If everyone checked out, I would be sold out. Oh, yes. Okay, so here's the situation. I ordered a bunch of comics. I sort of split them basically 60-40. 60% for Etsy and private sales. Like I set aside some just to like for people I see in person who don't want to deal with, you know, going through Etsy. Like I'm going to see them, I can just hand it to them. And then of course I pluck out, it's not many, but I pluck out a few for myself. Like I want to keep a few. Like my dad gets one for free, like that kind of stuff, you know, like so there's that kind of thing. Anyway, so 60% is like my supply to either sell or keep or privately sell or whatever I'm doing, or donate or walk over to Ash Avenue Comics or whatever, you know, like just the different things. The rest have been set aside for FanFusion. I don't know how many I will sell at FanFusion. That's kind of the thing of the gamble of cons. I could sell 20, I could sell 50, I could sell like, I don't know. But at least right now, I want to maintain that pile because I do not intend to do a reorder of 79 before FanFusion. What is the point of all this? The point is, if you don't want to risk waiting a while for 79 and you've got it in your cart, I would suggest you go ahead and check out. And I'm not saying that as self-interest. I'm saying here's what could happen. If people start checking out on Etsy and it sells out there, I probably will not push anymore to the Etsy shop because I want to see how FanFusion goes. They'll be staying set aside for FanFusion. And one of two things will happen after that. Either I will not sell out at FanFusion, which is very possible, and I'll be coming back and adding more to the Etsy store. If that's going to be weeks from now. So after I sell out on Etsy, there'll be this time waiting to see like what happens. Or I will sell out at FanFusion, and then you're going to be waiting for me to reorder from Comics Wellspring. And that may be a while because, again, I self-fund my printing. And it's therefore when I have a few $100 to order some books. And I just spent many hundreds of bucks on 79 and reprinting 75 and 97. So maybe a little while, maybe like deep in the summer before I feel like reordering. Assume if I sell out, which I may not. I'm just saying, again, I'm not hard selling anybody. I'm not saying like, so let's sell out. Let's get all those books sold. Buy now. It's not that. I'm just saying, if you definitely want to be reading 79 soon, you should probably check out just to be safe. Might be fine. Might all work out even if you wait. But to be safe, I would check out. Okay, let's see here. And I know I've got many people either on Facebook or on Instagram or privately or wherever have said like, oh yeah, I gotta set one aside for me, or oh, I gotta order one. And that's great. And I don't want to hassle anybody or rush anybody. I'm just saying. I didn't order 500 books. Like, you know, I ordered more 79 than I've ordered of any other previous book, just because this isn't an artificial scarcity thing. It's not like I'm like, oh, I ordered 25 books just so I can say I sold out in 2 days. You know, like that's not. No, I try to order as many as I can. But I found more and more often, which is great, which is awesome. I, you know, can and do sell out of first runs. And that might seem like a cool thing. I can imagine the conspiracy theorists out there are like, you know, it's all this artificial demand, it's the scarcity, it's this FOMO. It's not. It's actually, not only is it irritating for the people who missed the shot, it's irritating for me. I would much rather people had a book. I would much rather sell someone a book than create some weird mystique of like, oh, DvsM is hard to get. Like, that's not. I want people to have books. So. All right. We're getting a pile. It's happening. I saw. Well, I'll show them next time. I think maybe my next stream is going to be on the many books I need to read that I've accumulated over the past few months that I've just been, it's just this backlog of books to read. But I just got a pile more. Anyone who watches Foo's channel saw I popped in for one of the auctions. And bought a couple books, and a bunch more were thrown in just to be cool. And I've got a pile of old books. I'm very like Conan's and stuff. Well, we'll talk about all of that next time. I think I did want to finally talk about. Well, I'm not going to start rattling them off now, but there are a bunch of comics that I've been meaning to read, have read but haven't talked about on my show. Now, see, this is the other thing. These don't stack, you see. And because it's the super awesome Comic Vantage crystal clear bags, see how it's going to slide off. So I've got to start, you know what I mean, alternating. Let's see here. There we go. Oh, so that is not the case. I'm trying to concentrate. If I see something worthy of sharing like this, it gets shared. Just settle down. Settle down. So here's a dream I had last night that you don't exactly have to be Sigmund Freud to puzzle out. I dreamt, as I'm getting ready to ship the first batch of DvsM 1979 out to people, I dreamt that I was going, that they were doing a production of DvsM 1979, the play. There's going to be a theater production of DvsM 1979. It was opening night. And the audience was filing in. It was very exciting. Lots of people were showing up. I was feeling a lot of pride and excitement. Like, I hope this is cool. I can't believe they made a play out of DvsM 1979. It's crazy. And I'm getting ready to take my seat. And this person is showing me to my seat. And they're like, you're going to be right here. And I'm going to draw this. Okay, so this is, can you see this? Stage, audience, all the seats. My seat was here, and it was bolted to the floor. You couldn't like turn it, and it was facing this way. Can you see? So while everyone was watching the play, I, as the creator, had to sit and watch the audience watching the play. And I was like, can't I just sit out there? And they were like, no, no, no. No, this is the tradition. The creator has to sit and watch the audience watching their work. Again, not a lot of deep analysis required. So even though consciously, you know, I want people to like it. I'm a little anxious. I'm anxious every time. You know, you're revealing this thing you've been working on. And while I say over and over again, it's not really about that. It's about, like, do I enjoy it? Am I happy with it? Of course that's there. Of course that, like, I hope people like it. I hope people get it. I hope people, you know. And there's that anxiety over, like, oh God, now, like, this thing, which I was enjoying, I was having fun with making, I'm happy with, I think is worthy and interesting and all the things. Now you kind of like, well, we'll see if people agree. I mean, I split the side of this one a little bit, but it's just like 3/4 of an inch. It's fine. I don't have to do a new bag. This is also why I have extra bags. Because once in a while, I'll goof it and totally ruin the bag, and it's not sell it, not something I want to sell. You'll see this time, if you've bought books from me before, I am not throwing a business card in. Mostly just to reduce expenses on my part. I don't think if people have so many business cards from me. All the information they need is now on the updated copyright page, all my links, everything. Like, it's like, do we really need a card? Do we need to add that? I apologize if someone was like, they like to get a business card. I'm trying to sort out what I think about business cards. Especially when it comes to cons, and I have to decide this in the next couple of weeks because I'm getting ready to go to a con, but there are two schools of thought. My school of thought most of this time has been, if they're cool looking, if you have a cool looking business card, it's out on the table, it might add the so-called friction for the people walking by. They'll see a thing that's free. They might stop to look at this card. They might pick up a card. And yeah, maybe They'll use it to seek you out later, to find your social media, to find your Etsy shop, whatever. I'm having to open a new. And there is that little bit of there's a school of thought that if you're giving somebody something, a free sticker, a business card, a free bookmark, whatever, they feel maybe a subconscious obligation to maybe buy something. Like to make, you know, like you gave me a thing, so now I should probably get something. That's the thought anyway. And finally, in the pro card category, I think it makes it look like more is happening at your table. Like you've got books and something else, cards. You know, you've got things, not just like books or whatever. Those are all the reasons maybe to have. On the other end of the spectrum, Scott Lost has talked about this quite a few times. I think, and Scott, if you're watching this on, I think he has Mother's Day stuff today, but if you're watching this on the rewatch, forgive me if I'm not accurately explaining your perspective, but I think his thought is like you're just giving people an out. Like, and it's like a loss. Like you don't get anything out of it. Not only do you not get anything, like, because people are like, and I know I've done this myself. People are just picking up cards at cons. They're picking up free stuff. It all goes in their bag, their con bag. They go home. It all ends up in the trash. Okay, so that's just an expense on my part that goes nowhere. And he feels like it doesn't add psychological friction. It doesn't make you feel like, oh, like there should be some reciprocation here. I took a card, so maybe I should consider buying a book. He thinks it gives them an out because then they can see the cards. Squatch, I'd be actually interested in your take on this. They see the cards and they say like, oh, I'll come back. I'll come back. Oh, cool. I'll check out. I'm not buying today, but I'll check out your store online. And they'll pick up the card and leave. And they have no intention really to do so. It's just a way for them to gracefully exit your table. And you know what? That kind of makes sense. And I don't know how I feel about it. Of course, it's probably both. Different people, different reasons they're picking up a card. Different reactions to cards being out. I guess the question is, what's the most common? Who are you more likely to see at a con? The person who feels now like I am going to look you up later. Or, oh, you gave me a cool thing. This is pretty cool. I'm going to sit and visit a little bit longer. The longer I stay at the table, like the more and more like there's this kind of implied pressure building, like I should buy something. Or are you more likely to find the person who's like, yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, let me just take this card and I'll circle back tomorrow and we'll never come back. Which is it? I don't know. So I'd be curious if anyone watching, if they have their opinion. I guess first, if you've tabled, do you do business cards? Or any kind of a free thing, like a sticker or whatever? And if so, how do you feel about it? What's your current thinking about it? For the people who have not tabled, when you see cards, like what are you more likely to do? Are you more likely to do like the Scott Lost thing of use this as an escape hatch? I'm going to take a card because I'm going to look you up later. Good luck. Or, I don't know, is that ingratiating? Like, do you feel like, oh, this is cool, he's got stuff here? I also do think I need to make myself do all of these today because, again, the restock of 97 shows up Tuesday, and it's going to be psychologically damaging for me if I've got a ton of comics left to bag and board, and then a new box of even more show up. I will say this, now that I've looked over DvsM 1979, the finished version of it a few times. I think it is, I hope people agree, 100% the best drawn of all of them. I remember when I started it, Jim Lujan was is in the Squatch camp of Can't This Be Faster? And Jim Lujan was, he knew my page a week rate, and he was like, I bet you could squeeze out a page every 4 days as opposed to once a week. And I agreed with it. I was like, maybe I'm going to try. I'm going to try this time. And what ended up happening, yes, there were pages I could have called done in 4 days. But rather than just say like, okay, done and move on, I made the choice to make the pages even better, take a full week to make the pages even better. So it was still page a week, but I think higher level of quality. Now, Squatches and Luhans might have not taken that trade, but I'm very happy with that trade because I'm looking at 79 now, and I think, and this is, you know, the case for anything, I'm sure in time I'll feel the same way with 79, but 75 and 97, I think they're both good. I like them. They're my kids. I love them all. I love them all equally. But if I was ever to do a George Lucas special edition of DvsM, 97 and 79 especially, or 75 especially, have a lot of room for tweaking. Like things I might go back and want to like, that could be better. 79 is one where I go through it and I think this is very consistent and at a pretty high level throughout. So I'm happy about that. And I think it also, you know, Josh was saying something on his stream the other day. He was sort of comparing it to fine dining DvsM. It's like, look, it's going to take longer. It's going to be slow. It might take a little while to get in there. You're going to be waiting a little bit. But you're going to get something special when it shows up. I think if it's done at a higher level, it more justifies this gap in between. That's my attitude. But I don't know. I think that's the trade. But really, that's not even it. I mean, I try not to think too much about the audience when I'm making it. I try to think, what can I be proud of for the longest amount of time in the future? And, you know, when I look through my portfolio, for example, there are pieces in there that I think are, that I really worked on and I nailed, and I think as a result are pretty timeless. Like that I look at, I still today, even if I did them in like high school or college, I think like that looks pretty good. Like that's not bad. I like that. And then there are things that I can tell I did some shortcuts, or I didn't fully follow through, or I didn't fully commit, or I didn't want to spend any more time on it, or whatever the thing was. And I don't like looking at them. I want DvsMs to be more of the first. I would love it if I can always go back to them and say, yeah, maybe I would do it different today, but I still really like this. Anyway, let's see what's going on here. Okay, cards. To be honest, cards don't really do much. If you give stickers out to people, people will take them. So just work in an Instagram. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's kind of where I'm leaning. That's why I've like hesitated on ordering more cards, because it's like, do I really want to do the card thing anymore? I think I realized I was mostly doing the cards because I'm a print snob and I love ordering shit from moo.com. I love the quality of their paper. It's who I order my holiday cards from. It's who I order my business cards from. And I think I just love a well-printed, nice feeling card. Like, so it's like, is that enough reason for me to be spending money buying hundreds of business cards periodically just to, because I like, why don't I buy myself one and stop it? I don't know. That's kind of my current thinking. I don't have cards or stickers sitting out, but I offer out stickers to bring people to the table. It works pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's a good, I think maybe middle path is, I don't have a pile of stuff out for people just to walk by and be like, cool, is this free? And just walk away with it. I also like the idea of like using some kind of low cost item as a deal sweetener. So if I can tell someone is kind of like waffling, I can jump in there and be like, if you buy it right now, I'll throw in blank. And some kind of thing that actually doesn't cost me much at all, that I can like, I'll throw in some stickers if you buy it right now, you know, and they feel like they're getting something when really it doesn't cost me much. Yeah, I agree. All right, so this is old guy. Are stickers still a thing? Do people care about stickers? I like to get a sticker. I cover my long boxes with stickers. Like every comic sticker I get from like a Kickstarter or whatever immediately goes on a long box. And I'm just like, I want them ultimately to be where like you can't even see the box underneath. I just want this like, so like I enjoy stickers. Are stickers, okay, here's the poll for the audience. I know the cost is different and that might be meaningful, but what would you be more excited about as like a deal sweetener or a low cost item at a table, let's say for $1? Stickers or magnets? Which of those is more interesting to you? Let's check up. Thank you, sir. When you say a digital business card, again, old guy, do you mean just like have a QR code on the table, which I did at Arizona Comic Book Arts Fest, or do you mean something else? Okay, yeah. And I could attach something to that too, where it's like a coupon code for the Etsy store or something, you know? It is. That's exactly what it's like. I want to tell a story about Squatch. So last episode, books hadn't showed up yet. I was running down the pre-order situation. And I made it very clear in the video. I am not doing remarks in this first batch. Too much time. I'm not doing it. Absolutely not. Don't ask, I won't do it. In Squatch's order notes. How about a remark for your #1 fan? And you know what, Squatch? I am going to do it for you. But it may mean that your order goes out a couple days later than everybody else. Okay? That's the penalty. But I'll do it for you. Nobody else. Nobody else ask. It's going to be a no. It's going to be sorry, but no. It's going to be a Ringo Starr. I'm just too busy. Peace and love, peace and love. But for Squatch, I will. But it may not go out till like Tuesday. Maybe even Wednesday. I don't know. It depends how long. I'm telling you right now. So if you want to say, maybe remark a future one, now's your chance. If you're willing to wait a couple extra days, I'll remark it. Okay, let's see here. Okay, you've asked about this before. Seriously. Like, I'm assuming a very low amount. How many people want that? I know you do, but how many people really want that? Is that a thing? Like, if I was to get blank, if I was going to get sketch covers of DvsM, it would be like, I think the minimum amount you can do at Wellspring, which is 25. Which to me seems like a shitload for a kind of a, I don't know, I just don't know. This is the thing, Squatch. Most of my fans, most of the people buying DvsM. Oh my god, wait. Oh shit. Oh, I did it. I nearly split this one. I nearly ruined it. Most of the people buying DvsM are not really comic people. Like they're in the picto-fiction audience. They're in the sequential literature audience. Like they wouldn't even know what the fuck a remark is. They wouldn't know what to do with a sketch cover. Like they don't. So I guess then it's like, okay, well then how many of these am I actually going to sell? I will pay. Stickers are still a thing. Sticker packs. You know, that's actually more attractive to me because if I could sell like little packs, I could charge more and I could charge a more round number. The thing that's dumb about little things is like if you're charging people $1, it's like you're either running on your square $1, which is stupid, or people are giving you quarters or some bullshit. Like it's like I would rather deal with like chunks of money. But then also if I'm using it as a deal sweetener, it feels more like you're getting something. Like if I'm just saying like I'll throw in a sticker, that's not really that's not an incentive. But if I'm throwing in like some kind of a bundle of stickers, that seems like something. That's interesting. I'll think about that. Stickers. Okay, stickers over magnets. Stickers over magnets. Okay. Yeah, for you. But you're gonna wait. You're gonna wait just a little bit longer than everybody else. Yeah. Well, 6 years. Jesus Christ. I don't think I haven't even been doing DvsM. Well, I've been doing DvsM. I haven't been doing the comics for 6 years. I think, I'd have to check. I think the copyright for 75, that 2018, I think. Yeah, I think that was 18. 97 was 20. I had hoped to get 79 out in 22. Because again, it's like ideally like an every other year kind of thing. And all sorts of things got in the way of every other year for 79. I don't anticipate that to happen again with the future ones. I do think future ones will be kind of an every other year deal. And I also think, now this is a good way to screw myself just by saying it out loud, but I'm pretty confident 79 is going to be the longest of any of them. I don't think any of them will be anywhere near as long. And in fact, I think the last one may be the shortest of all of them, the way I'm imagining it. Now, here's the important thing. I have not written the scripts. I have notes, I have outlines, I know what, I could tell you what each one is going to be about and what happens. But I don't have an actual script, and that's when you can kind of start to figure out how long will this thing be. But I think 97 and 79 will be the longest for sure. Like, I just can't. And what's funny, I might talk about this. Well, that reminds me. I do still intend to do an Ask Me Anything. This might be something that comes up if people ask questions about 79. A lot of questions about 79. But 79 was going to be the shortest one. And then I decided, after I had written like some drafts of the short version, that this is book 3 in a 6-book series. This is basically the final book in part 1 of the series. I need more. How do I want to explain this without spoiling anything? DvsM, every single DvsM has 2 threads through it, all right? One is what is the primary focus of each one, the character story. It's the kind of the eyewitness account, all right? The whole premise of DvsM. Eyewitness accounts of a top secret war. So this one, Dr. Veronica Wagner, 5 or 6 hours of the life of a very important or critical day. All of them, it's always like, you can distill each DvsM as, this was the most significant day in this character's life, okay? So that's what and that's one story through this, Dr. Wagner's story of this particular day, this particular turning point in her life. What's also in every DvsM is 1/6 of the entire DvsM story, okay? It needs to kind of, I'm painting a larger picture here. And while that will never be the main the forefront story, this background, the background of this Dinosaur-Martian war, it's for people, like, you're getting a different puzzle piece. And if I do this right, once you've read all 6, again, there's still going to be a lot of gaps, but you'll get a sense of, like, this was sort of how that whole thing went. This is how it started and how it evolved, and it got to here, and then it started going this way, and then it came to a close. You'll get a sense of that, okay? My original version of 79, the short version, which I think would have been about half as long as this, the problem was it was very much just Dr. Wagner's story. And it was not, I thought, enough of DvsM, like the larger story. I'm not giving readers a meaningful chunk of that story. And that put a lot of pressure on me for the last 3 to make up for the fact that I kind of skipped doing it in 79. Does that make sense? So I was like, all right, I need to, not the Veronica part. The Veronica part was fine. The DvsM part, the saga part, the one part of the 6-part story part, that needs to be, I need something more in here. And that resulted in making it significantly longer, where I had to add, I was like, well, I can flesh out this and I can explain this more, and I can, and basically, well, see, I'm trying to be careful now, I'm self-censoring. Much of the last act is adding what I would call, in this explanation, DvsM story. Like, I feel like this isn't, of course it's not absolute, but I feel like, roughly speaking, the first half of the book is sort of Veronica's story, and the second half of the book is sort of DvsM's story. For a comparison, just to compare and contrast with the other ones, DvsM 97 that's sort of divided into 3 parts. You see Jenny in a cell starting to talk. You see a flashback to events, and then we end up back with Jenny in the cell for the last part, okay? That one is sort of, when you think of it, Jenny, DvsM, Jenny. You know, you've got, Jenny is sandwiching a DvsM story, okay? DvsM 1975, it's a little more gray because you're focusing on a man in black. So it's kind of hard to separate the man from DvsM, and that's intentional. But it's another thing where I think, and that one probably has, I would say, a more similar kind of, in terms of that balance, similar format to 79, where you're getting a lot of character stuff out of the way first, and then you're graduating to saga content. 79 is similar in that way. I think you're getting a lot of character stuff up front, and then it shifts. Then it shifts to being more like saga stuff with the character there. If that makes sense. You'll all have to see what you think about that when you read it. Okay, I'm behind on chat. Look, I'll do the blanks, but let me like sometime this summer. Let me get past Comic-Con because I can't. I've just spent too much money on printing comics. So, but I'll do it. I'll do it if you want them. If you'll use them, I'll buy it. I'll do it. Okay. All right. Which one? Or do you mean like all 3? Is there one in particular? Does it matter? Like for what you're doing? I don't know. Let me tell you something. The day I get to mail one to a prison, I'll feel like I arrived. That will be a milestone for me. That will be kind of exciting for me. Okay. All right. You say so. I'm opening another. We're making some progress. I don't know how many are in each of these. Let me see here. I'll count it up once I get it open. I mean, there's still too many to do, but. What else? I was, I do kind of love the idea of spot foil. I was thinking of it not for a cover, because I've kind of established like what these covers look like. But I was looking at, I don't think I'm going to do it. But I was looking at doing bookmarks. I was just looking at different, like, oh, that's sort of an interesting idea. And I thought, what if I did a spot foil bookmark? And like, what would be the foil? Would it be the blood effect on each one? Or like, I don't know, it's sort of fun. Anyway, okay, how many are in each of these? Okay, there's only 10 in each one. So once I do all these, I'll have 30, which again, I need more, but it's a start. I can kind of do this off and on all day. Do it until I can't stand it anymore, and then take a break. And honestly, I'd have to make myself rich first. So that's It's not happening quickly. Okay. It's amazing. You know, Comics Wellspring, I hope they never change. To me, they're up there with Moo, where they just kind of seem to do everything right. You know? I like their paper quality. I like their printing quality. I think their customer service is fantastic. They seem to constantly be like offering new and interesting products. This sounds like an ad. I mean, I don't get anything out of this, but I'm sort of intrigued by their, like, you could order stuff and just, they keep it in their warehouse and they sell it, like handle the stock for you. Like basically people would buy from your book from Comics Wellspring. Might be something I try. They're pretty cool. I'm a big fan. I would, if something happened, like if some larger dipshit company bought them out and started compromising them, or if they went out of business, God forbid, or whatever, like I would really be like, I wouldn't know where to, I would be so discouraged because it's like, I don't know where to go. I know I'm not going to like it as much. Like that, I just don't even want to think about it. So, in short, you gotta stay open forever, Comics Wellspring. You gotta make smart business decisions. You gotta stay around. You gotta do everything right forever. I'm sorry, just for me. Okay. I saw your order today. Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna try and get all, really try to get all existing orders out tomorrow, with the exception, the aforementioned exception of Squatches, because he needs a remark, which I'm not offering to anybody. But for him, okay, he's gonna delay shipping. I don't even know what I'm going to do yet. I guess I'll have to think about that. But I'm not even going to think about it until after I get everybody else's out the door. Because right now I have a ton of order. Like I have this stack of packing slips looming over there to remind me today. Like I got to go to the post office tomorrow because it'll get away from me if I don't. If I get too behind, I'll get stressed. How many bags and boards today? Well, I actually have more bags and boards on the way, but I have enough for 100 right here. Oh no. See? Okay. That was just putting the board in. You see this? I don't know if you can see that. This is why you need extra bags. I think this Sunday, today, I think I kind of need to use up all these bags and boards. I need to do 100. To not get totally overwhelmed and behind. Now, in terms of what needs, I don't need to ship 100. I mean, I haven't sold 100 books yet. I'm not shipping 100 tomorrow, but they all need to eventually be bagged. So it's, and like I said, it helps flatten them out. Allows me to store them a little bit better. It makes it just simpler when a new order rolls in. I can just pull this out and do whatever I need to do to it. Then like, oh, I got a bag and board book to mail tomorrow. Like, so probably all 100. I'll probably try to use up all 100. There'll still be books to bag and board, but I will be out of bags and boards until the new ones show up. I think the new ones show up I'm going to show up Tuesday at the same time the restock of 97 shows up. Let's see. I've got a series. I can't really show you. I have a pile this high of bagged and boarded 79. The other thing that's a little, I don't know what really can happen if it's really a concern, but on these boards, one side is matte, other side is glossy. Apparently the glossy side is to be toward the book, or bad things can happen. I don't know. So yeah, I'm trying, that's why if you're seeing me kind of thoughtfully, like making sure I've got this lined up right, so it's facing the right direction. Jim, I know if you're still watching, I do still intend, I have audio for you. What I wanted to try and do, there was one part that has a little bit of background, like not background noise, but background like, you know, like that, that I can, with my Adobe Magic, remove. So I wanted to do that so I can send you clean audio rather than re-record it, because I'm happy with some of my delivery. And I don't want to redo it. It may not be as good. So today, that will be one of my things when I need a break from bagging and boarding. I can't stand it anymore. I'll get that audio to you. What else have I been doing with my newfound time off? Not drawing. I've been playing a video game. Enjoying it quite a bit. I'm playing the Demon's Souls remake on PlayStation 5. I love those games. I'm a fan of all the Souls games, some more than others. Like, I never really clicked with Sekiro. That's probably my least favorite of them. This is video game sidebar for people who I wanted to like it so much. Like, I love how it looks, I love the character designs, I love the story, like I love everything about it except the gameplay. Like, I just don't, it's not what I want in a Souls game. I felt like, for people who have played all these, they'll know what I mean. Everyone else will be a little lost, but I won't spend too much time on it, so hang in there. I think what I like most about the Souls games, in particular, Demon's Souls, the Dark Souls games, and then Elden Ring, was the player was empowered to approach challenges in a lot of different ways. Gameplay styles. Like, if you want to be more of a cautious, like, tank character, do you want to be like a little glass cannon, like fast and deal a lot of damage but be super vulnerable? Do you want to sit and level up for a while, grind for a while to kind of prepare yourself better for a boss? Do you want to, like, I want to customize my armor, I want this particular protection, I want to wear this kind of like magic ring to give me, like, I want to be fire resistant or plague resistant, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be an archer, I want to carry a club, like whatever. It gives you a lot. I mean, it's more of a role-playing game. You decide how you're going to take on. The game presents you with all these challenges. You decide how you're going to do it. Sekiro, I think, more than any other Souls game, really forces you. It's like, no, this is how you're going to play. We'll tell you how to play it. And there's not a lot of room. Like, basically, your options in Sekiro are either charge in like a maniac and just take people on, or try to kind of stealthy, like pick people off one by one. But the actual mechanics of the gameplay, like you don't have a lot of options. There's one way to play that game really effectively. And that, I didn't love that. I want that ability to kind of decide, like, what do I want to do? How do I want to do this? I want to have options. Color Red, of course. Okay. Easy audio from the show. It's the only one I didn't like. Yeah, that was definitely a weaker one. That one felt half-baked. Yeah, that's the other thing with Sekiro. It feels very like... I can't imagine replaying it. Like, why would I... And again, because of the lack of gameplay... the lack of ability to sort of improvise and come up with interesting approaches and do different things, and you know, like it feels very much like, no, this is what you're gonna do. It feels kind of like the most like a traditional action game of all the Souls games. So I think Sekiro is my least favorite. Bloodborne, I'm not going to rate because I feel like I never really gave it a fair shot. I think that was a PlayStation 4 game, I believe. Yes, and I think I got it. It is also very different in style, but more like a traditional Souls game. I liked a lot about it, and I think that was about a time though when I was getting rid of my PlayStation 4. So I think I just kind of was like, eh. I'll circle back to this someday. I don't know. So there was something about it, and I don't remember specifically what it was. It didn't really capture me, like grab me, where I was willing to like just set it aside. Where every other Souls game, I did see through to the end. Elden Ring is great. I would also say and this is a strike against it, I think Elden Ring does, I think, almost everything right. I really, and I went really down the Elden Ring rabbit hole. Like when I got that, I was playing it all the time. I loved it. I do think it's probably the easiest of all the Souls games, which is kind of a minor ding. I think maybe Elden Ring is what happens if you go too far in the other direction of what I'm talking about, where you allow the player way too much ability to kind of tackle challenges in any way they want to. There's a lot of ways to cheese that game and not have to work that hard. A lot of ways to grind and get overpowered. A lot of ways, like I think Elden Ring, you know, for a lot of people, is still very difficult, but I think Elden Ring is the most accessible of all the Souls games by far. And I think that's probably a necessary side effect of open world design. Like if you're going to do an open world game like Elden Ring, you're allowing a lot of player freedom to avoid really tough challenges. I think what I do tend to love about a traditional Souls game like Demon Souls, like Dark Souls 1, like Dark Souls 3, and Dark Souls 4, 2 as well, but like I don't think it's that great of a game. is that the developer can actually create difficult scenarios that you don't really have. You can't dodge this. Like, you're going to have to deal with this problem we've presented you with as a player. And I think you can get tighter and more thoughtful level design and like enemy design and stuff if you know that a character can't just jump on his weird goat horse and ride away. You know, like that it allows you to kind of tune something a lot more tight. And that's why I think while Elden Ring is amazing and a classic and a masterpiece, in terms of my sentimental favorite, it may not be. I think now that I'm playing through the remake of Demon Souls, I'm remembering how much I really loved Demon Souls. That said, you can tell it's very much like their first game in the series, and they made a lot of stupid choices, and it's not as polished. Like 3 is probably, I don't know. 3 is really good. I think Demon Souls, the original, probably has more character. I love the kind of weird, I don't know, it could just be nostalgia, but there's something about Demon Souls that's really aesthetically compelling to me. Okay. There's a cool alien game for the PC that just came out. It's like the movie Signs. I would totally want to know what that is. Thank you, Josh. Please wish Happy Mother's Day to your wife and anybody else you cross paths with today. I am. That's true. True. I think easily. Yeah. Yeah. I think they delivered at a time where I have to admit I was getting kind of bored of open world games because it was all kind of samey. I think what was burning me out was actually like the Ubisoft model of open world games, like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and all that, where it's just started to feel a lot like formula. Like, yeah, okay, I get it. You're dropping this thing, and there's going to be all these little. I'm going to open my map, and there's going to be all this shit on the map. Just all these little markers. Here's all the stuff you can do. And it's a little overwhelming. There's so much to do, and yet none of it is particularly meaningful. It's all just like nonsense. Like, you go and like capture that tower, kill these guys here, kill these guys there. Now you've officially killed all the guys here. Now this is a safe spot. Like, it's, I don't know. It just felt very like rote and boring. I was really impressed that they were able to pull it off with Elden Ring, because I was wondering how this will translate to open world. Maybe this is going to be a disaster, because I played the very structured previous Souls games, which are very like it's about level design, and it's hard to do level design open world. But they did it. It was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, though, I would say one of the best of the generation. I still think Breath of the Wild is the one to beat, and I hear Tears of the Kingdom is even better. That will be my post Comic-Con reward to myself, is Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Because the Zelda series, I don't love all of them. There's some actually I actively do not like, but as a series, it's one of those things where it's like, if there's a new Zelda game, I have to get it. I have to get it. I have to play it. I'm like a diehard Zelda fan. The original Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo basically is why I love video games. Like, I liked video games, and then I got Legend of Zelda, and it turned me into a maniac for video games. So I feel like for life, any new Zelda game, yeah, I'll give it a try. A lot of gushing reviews of Tears of the Kingdom, and it seems like people who were kind of lukewarm on Breath of the Wild, which I loved, even they like Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm excited. I can't wait to play it. But I got to finish Demon Souls. I got to get past Comic-Con, and then I am allowing myself to do Tears of the Kingdom. Edie, family just left after Mother's Day dinner. Want to give a thumbs up? Oh, thanks. Thank you, Harry. I'm a wizard. I forget, like, the time difference. We just left after Mother's Day dinner. I was like, it's 12:30 here. But happy Mother's Day to you, Dee. Congratulations to Larry, too. Okay. I'm going to grab another couple bundles of comics. I'm making progress here. Maybe I'll do another. I don't know if I'll stream the whole time because it's not that interesting, but I might do another 20 or 30. Okay. 3:30. I have successfully cutting these open, not cut myself or a book yet. So and I don't want to jinx this, but okay, I don't want to jinx this, but I feel like Comics Wellspring's print quality, not the print quality, but like their process, which was already great, has gotten better. I had noticed, and I'm not out in Comics Wellspring, I talked to them about this. There was some kind of a minor quality control issue that sometimes I would have where, and it was probably more noticeable for someone like me who has a lot of white, bright white on the cover than maybe other creators. I would sometimes see what looked almost like a faint black inky smear on some of the books. And so if I ordered like 50 books or 100 books or whatever, there was often like some small percentage, 2 or 3, 5 maybe, that had like a strange little something. I used to do quality control at a print company. I don't know what their process is, so I can't say with authority what was happening, but my suspicion is that when these are coming off and the ink is still wet, they're being handled in a way where sometimes you're getting a little bit of transfer between books or something. I couldn't say for sure, but that's the impression. I don't think it was a printing issue. I don't think anything was happening in the printer. I think it was something about either where it's rolling off as dirty or when they're being stacked, the ink is still wet. Something is happening right after. So far, of all the books I've looked at, I've not seen any evidence of that, which is great. So I think whatever that thing was that would sometimes happen, they sorted it out. Let's see here. Yeah, that was a shame. I wanted that to be a surprise. I wanted that to be the Return of the Jedi, Jabba's palace moment of a great big musical number with vocals. Wasn't the name of that technically Jedi Rock or something. I thought there was a name. I can't, I know some people are down on Disney Star Wars, and believe me, I have my complaints. But I maintain the biggest threat to Star Wars in our life has been George Lucas himself. I mean, I would much prefer. Here's my argument. I know that's a hot take. Here's my argument. One example. I would much prefer have that shitty Boba Fett series to a special edition of the original movies. Far, not even close. Okay. That's one of many examples I could give of like, yeah, look, Star Wars is Star Wars. There's always, I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like morons are running the show, no matter who it is. Like, there's no one who's like, Star Wars is too big a business to be making great creative choices. Like, it's long past that. So, but it was no better before I went to Disney. They were already like, I think special editions, a lot of that stuff, Greedo shooting first, to me, maybe this is because I'm an older Star Wars fan, is a far greater blasphemy than anything that's happened under Disney. Like, can you imagine if that change had been made under Disney's watch? Like, people there'd be torches and pitchforks. But that was Lucas. That was George. Okay. Yeah. It's going to be something I talk about in my next therapy appointment, frankly. Yeah, Lucas, it was good he sold. And I think on some level he knew, like, it's time for me to give this up. Like, I really do believe, I don't have a complaint. Look, George Lucas gave me some of the art I've enjoyed most in my life. Like, I'm not going to take that away from him. And I think he's a nice man. I think he's like just a good guy. I also think he's got weird, complicated, fucked up feelings about his own thing. And I think he was over it. I think it's good that he sold it. And I don't know who you could sell to that's better than Disney, frankly. Like, who else are you going to sell that to? But it's a mess. The whole thing's a mess. It's like walking around like some Greek ruins of a once beautiful thing. It's now crumbled and got some graffiti, and it's just not. That's Star Wars now. With the exception, there are some notable exceptions, some diamonds in the rough, some still intact little relics of the bygone era. Andor is fantastic, and I hope the second season lives up to the first. There are bits and pieces here and there that's like, oh, that's pretty good. But let's see here. Oh, yeah. Okay. And you remember that initial Jabba before they had gotten CG dialed in? He looked like someone's cosplay made out of a fucking garbage bag or something. Like, it looked terrible. It looked so bad. And also didn't even work. I think that was just one of those things. It's like, yeah, we can put Java in there now because we have the technology. I always wanted Java in there. The problem is, George, maybe you did want Java in there. Maybe you couldn't do it because of the technology. But then you made Return of the Jedi. And you made Java look the way he looks, which didn't fit what you had shot in A New Hope. There's no way to make that work. It makes sense unless you have Han stepping on Jabba's tail. And you also established that Jabba's kind of a scary guy with a lot of power. So the idea that Han, who's kind of afraid of Jabba, would talk to him the way he's talking to him, walk over his tail, it doesn't even work. It doesn't even make sense. And I think, I don't know, maybe there's an interview to prove this. I've long suspected that George either subconsciously or very consciously resents the hell out of the fact that the universally agreed upon Star Wars, greatest Star Wars movie is Empire Strikes Back, where they deviated a lot from his original idea. Different director, different writers, sidelined him a little bit. He was exhausted. He was so burned out from the first one. He was kind of like, he was eager, just kind of let other people do it. So other people, he surrounded himself by great people. They did it. They made the best Star Wars of all time, full stop. I think that pisses him off. I really think it does. I think he hates it. He hates that, like, this thing that he made, Star Wars, the best example of it is something that somebody else made. And I can appreciate that. That would be hard. That'd be a tough pill to swallow. But I think maybe, if in therapy, rather than talk about things like, you know, Jim and Josh spoiling musical numbers in your work, he had explored those feelings. He might have grown to feel that he still gets credit because he inspired the people who made this thing. He inspired people to do a great thing. Empire Strikes Back would not have existed without him, no matter how inconsequential he was to the making of Empire Strikes Back. That's something. Feel good about that, George. Don't feel bad. Oh my God. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Though I'm hopeful about the new one. They got a good director. The fact that, like, you know, the people who are in it makes me think, like, maybe they got something there. I'm excited. I'm cautious, feeling cautious, but excited. Like, I want Indiana Jones 5 to be good, and a good, presumably, close to the series. But yeah, who knows what yeah. And just again, you know, in the topic of, like, him sort of being over it and having complicated relationships with his own. Oh, you know what? I did jinx it. Okay, here's I can show you what I'm talking about with this ink issue. I don't know if this will show up. You see right there? Do you see this, like, diagonal? See what I mean? Now, already I can tell you, far less common than any previous order. And if it's just like one or two, it's not enough for me to get bent out of shape. I will keep this for my own library, whatever, you know. But this is what I'm talking about. Now, they've gotten better at it. I'm not seeing this nearly as often as I have in past ones. But yeah, it's probably hard to see. Let's see, I want to try one more time. It's very faint. You see, it's like a diagonal dark line coming off from the 9 towards the corner of the book. You see that? Maybe that's where the remark will go. It's a shame, though, it's where 79 is. I don't want to cover that up. So, but anyway, settings. I'm not going to bag and board this one. I don't want to waste a bag and board on one that I'm not going to sell somebody. So we'll set that right over there. That's the only one I've seen so far, though, and I've looked at a bunch of them. So whatever the issue is, it's and again, I'm confident it's some sort of QC issue. Something's, to me, again, the way it streaks away from the 9. Yeah, like this one's clean. Ink isn't fully dry and something's going on with it. Someone's grabbing it too quick. Something's, I don't know, but it's after it's printing, something is happening. But no, you'll see it. It's, gotta remember, this is like 720p. You'll see it. Like I saw it immediately when I picked up the book. So I'm not selling that one. Yeah, it can be one of those silly drawing challenges where it's like, I'm going to turn this. I'm going to write Iron Man and then change it so like it becomes part of the drawing of Iron Man. Whoa. Okay. Right on. All right. There won't. 75 is the earliest book in the continuity. And I haven't talked about this in a long time, but while they are released out of order, the first book in the continuity is also the first book in the series, 1975. The last book in the continuity will also be the last book in the series, year to be announced. So, see, now I'm looking at these like again, but I know like they've all been fine. That was just the weird one. Hopefully, maybe that's the only one. And it's never been many. Though I think there was one, I think it was way back in the 75 days, there was a shipment I got where it was enough in there where, like it was, I don't remember how many it was, but it was enough where I felt like, okay, this is too many. And if I do remember right, I reached out to them, sent them some pictures. I wasn't a dick about it. It's just like, you know, this is what some of these look like. And I think I just said, can you just give me like a small, whatever the equivalent of this is, credit toward my next order. Like I don't need replacements. I don't need a big apology. It's just like, but I can't sell these, you know, so. Yes. In fact, this one starts to hint at why dinosaurs. But it's very early on. And I would caution people, there might be many explanations, and explanations that seem to be suggested in either 97 or 79 or future books may or may not be correct. You have to remember with DvsM, this is going to be important for a lot of, so remember I was talking before about there's the character stories that are issue by issue, And then there's the saga story that arcs over the whole thing. I think people need to, when they're trying to puzzle out the saga story, what's going on? What's going on with the aliens? What's going on with the war? What's going on with the dinosaurs? Why this? Why that? What are these things after? What's going, you know, like all that stuff. You are getting information. I've worked it all out. I know exactly what's happening, and I know exactly why it all works. And like, I've got a whole secret document that no one's ever going to see. That's like basically like the DvsM Bible, like what's happening and why. And I write everything to be consistent with that. But you also have the POV characters, sometimes overtly and sometimes kind of suggested, like implying what they think is going on. But it's going to be very important for people who really want to get to a sense of what is happening, what is the truth, to know that these are fallible, not all-knowing characters. They might be coming up with answers that sound very plausible that are wrong. They're just human. They're taking their best stab at it just like you as the reader are. So in previous books, in this book, and future books, answers might be presented that are not actually true. And that's why I would encourage you as engaged DvsM readers to not accept anything that's being said at face value. Now, that said, sometimes I do, much like any good conspiracy theory, hide the truth between two lies. So some stuff maybe I have revealed. Some stuff maybe is accurate. But it's camouflaged and muddied. The water is very muddy with confusion and disinformation and bad conclusions and so on. So yes, but you may not get a very clear picture of why for a while. You might get fuzzy a sense. You might be able to see the outline of why. And there might be some misdirection, but maybe it's like, maybe it's something like this. But I think it's worth you, and this should be the fun of it, you as a reader, to kind of sit and figure, what do you think's going on? Why do you think dinosaurs work against the aliens? Where did the dinosaurs come from? How did we do this? What are the aliens after? What are they trying to do? Is it really a war? Who are they attacking? Why are they attacking them? What's their agenda? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Ooh. Nearly split that bag again. Okay. I'm kind of getting I don't know if this feels painfully slow for you guys, but I'm kind of surprised how often I'm having to open a new bag. I'm kind of getting through this. Thank you for keeping me company while I do this tedious manual labor. And I also am getting a tower of stacked comics here that at some point I need to. I wish my new long box would show up. I'm going to check right now. When does that show up? Because I need it. Ugh, it's giving me one of those ranges. I can't count on it. It's not going to be anytime real soon. But what is showing up tomorrow, this for the comic geeks out there, they'll be excited. Maybe, for me. I picked up, both for as a fan, but also for prep for DvsM issues that I don't want to elaborate on because spoilers. Batman by Neil Adams, Book 3. Neil Adams, of course, one of the greats. His Batman is one of my, like his era of Batman, which was a long stretch, is one of my favorites. 272 pages of Neil Adams Batman. You can't beat that. I'm excited. But there's particular stories in there that I remember loving, but also, like I said, there's a lot of prep for DvsM 4 is already happening, which is kind of crazy. I've got I'll probably talk about it some other time. I've got a pile of reading material. This, you can see the edge of the stack right here. This is books I need to read before I write the script, the final script for DvsM 4. I have a trip planned to go and scout a location that will be in DvsM 4. I have like some basic stuff, like to-do list things, like I need to start. There's a bunch of stuff I'll have to do to get this one going, but without getting into specifics, there's a particular Neil Adams Batman story where he's drawing a particular kind of thing that I always just felt like was, I love how he drew these certain things. And I want it, it's like, this is an excuse, and I'll need to be drawing those things in DvsM 4. So this is my opportunity to not only revisit comics I like, not only have something of a comic artist I really respect, but to also do some homework and get some ideas of how I might want to approach drawing a particular kind of thing in DvsM 4. So. I think this is the last one I'm going to do, and then I'm going to sign off. I will be continuing to bag and board, but I'm going to take a break, get up and stretch my feet, and that kind of thing, stretch my legs. And then continue chipping away at it today. This is a good start. I haven't even counted up how many I have, but I'm assuming I might be at a point where I might be able to get my first, like I've at least bagged all my first orders, maybe, or pretty soon. I don't know, something like that. So that's something. That's a landmark. Okay. What are your feelings on the paper covers that came? I can tell there's some Siri talk to type happening here. Why not use the actual? You're gonna have to. I don't know if I'm gonna sit here if I can puzzle this out. What are your feelings on paper covers that came with? Why not use the actual book to print on, which they do? Please take another stab at that with Jim. I don't know if I've got what you're asking. Paper book covers and hardbacks. Oh, is this? Oh, I see. Okay. What are your feelings on the paper covers that come with books? Why not? I see what you mean. Yeah, I have to be honest. I'm thinking about it. They're so flimsy. They immediately show a book's age. They get dinged up and torn up, and they have these like white spots where there's buff damage. You know what it's like? And I had the same impulse. You know when you buy a movie, it's in its case and it comes with a cardboard sleeve. My impulse, and sometimes I've actually done this, is just to take the sleeve off and throw it away. It's a pain in the ass. Like everything is on the case. The cardboard sleeve, sometimes it had like a price tag on it, which now is like, you can't remove it without, you remove it and it leaves like it damages it because it's cardboard. It's a pain when you're going to watch something. Now it's like, take this thing off and open it. Now you have two things sitting on your entertainment stand rather than the one thing. Like it's just, I'm not a fan. I guess like the paper covers, like the slip cases or whatever you call it on a book, it's kind of the same. Like I have to admit, if it wasn't part of it, if I didn't feel like I was throwing away something that I paid for, there's a part of me that's like, can I just throw this out? Do I need the, can I rid myself of this? It just, I don't know. Yeah. Thumbs down. Let's ban them. We don't need them anymore. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Not a fan. Here's a teaser for DvsM 1979. I'm thinking more about Dry Sushi's question from earlier. If you are one of these readers really interested in puzzling out like what is going, I want to know, like the character stories are great. What's like going on? Like what's the saga story? What are the aliens after? What's this about? What's happening? There is a page in this that actually reveals a ton. It reveals a ton. But it's not going to be very useful to you, and I will leave it at that. That's the mystery. But it's the most in any DvsM I've ever revealed about what's going on, like the lore. But you're not going to recognize it as such. That's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, we got a question. Hold on. Let me finish taking this. All right. Last question. What would current Gary tell Gary from 11 months ago about how this project is going to go? Any warnings or encouragements? Boy. I'm trying to put myself back where I was 11 months ago. 11 months ago, so what would that have been? That would have been like June last year. I would have been basically I would be a few months, just a few months into drawing this. I don't think I had hit any rough patches yet. So I think what I would say is, well, first of all, and you tell yourself this, but you don't know it when you're in the middle of something like this. You're gonna finish. It's gonna work out like it always does. Like, so don't worry about that. Don't stress yourself out over like, it's not coming as fast as I want, and I'm stressed out, and it's harder than I imagined, and whatever. Like, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna finish it. It's gonna be great. So that's number one. I think the other thing would be you're doing a better job of maintaining your enthusiasm and enjoyment this time, which was a goal. That was a goal when I set out to do this one. It was like, because 97 was very stressful, very hard, and I was kind of burned out when I finished it. And I felt like it wasn't anything about the work. It wasn't anything about anything out here. It was all in here. I was just approaching it wrong. I was just thinking about it wrong. And I want to enjoy this more when I do the next one. I think I would tell myself, you will be successful at that. You will enjoy this more. That said, you wrote a very challenging script, and you gave yourself some very difficult things to draw. And this is the longest DvsM you've done yet. So it's going to be hard, and try as you might, you are going to have moments through this where you're exhausted and a little fried, and you want it to be over. And just try and, just hang in there. You're going to get it done. It's going to be good. You're going to feel good about it when it's done. You're doing better than ever. But it's never going to be a walk in the park. You're giving yourself a lot of difficult things to do. And difficult things are difficult. So don't burden yourself with this idea of, if I think about it just right, if I approach it just right, if I pace myself in this way, if I work this much in this way, it's going to be a pleasure and easy every step of the way. Not only is that not realistic, what you're doing by having that, and this is, I think, true of life, by having an unrealistic expectation of yourself, when you fall short of that unrealistic expectation, now you're beating yourself up. You're blaming yourself for not being able to accomplish the unrealistic thing you set up for yourself. So I want this to be a delight and easy and a joy every step of the way. I want this to be breezy and fun and no big deal, and end up with this thing, which is not realistic for me. So then you try to do that, and you still find yourself kind of shaky on your feet at times, or wanting, like, the bus is kind of going off the road a little bit, or you're tired, or you want to break, or you're kind of, there's weeks where you're sort of over it or whatever. And now it's like, oh, my kung fu wasn't righteous enough. I lost the fight because I suck, and it's like, no, the goal you set was maybe stupid. You have that. I think maybe the better analogy or metaphor for this experience is, it's a marathon, It might be overall enjoyable. It will absolutely be satisfying. You'll be proud you did it. It might be overall a good experience, but there are going to be moments where you're just not having fun. And that should be the expectation. And the fact that sometimes it wasn't fun is not a failure or not evidence that you did something wrong. It's hard work. Hard work isn't always fun. I think so. I guess that would be the message. Like, be realistic about what you're taking on here. And be kind to yourself, I guess, or forgiving of yourself, realistic with yourself. I guess that would be the message to 11 months ago, Gary. All right. I'm going to do 3 more. I'm going to call it. 3 more finishes this bundle. I did find 1 more with a little streak. Still, that's a very good rate and better than it's normally been. And these also will be good for demo copies, like on the table at FanFusion. These are the ones you set out, the ones that you wouldn't sell because you don't like how they look. But overall, I'm very happy with how it looks. And I've never seen any kind of quality printing issue for people who are looking for printers with the interior. Never. Interior is always perfect. Never had a problem with the interior. The only time I've ever had an issue with the interior pages was my fault. I set up a page wrong. It's never been some weird thing that happened on their end. It was always me. So here's my hope for the coming weeks. Like I said, I'm going to try and get every but one order out, existing order out tomorrow. Just to get caught up and then try and ship them as they come in after that. I have Phoenix FanFusion to go to in about 2 or 3 weeks, pretty soon. So I'll be focusing a lot on that, turning to that. I am very much looking forward. I had 2 of the 3 Artcasters reach out to me to guest independently. They obviously didn't realize the other person had. And I turned both down for the same reason. I would rather go on to talk about 79 once you all have gotten it, because it will make it easier to talk about. You know, like I don't. And I think it'll make it less pitchy. Like, it'll be less me going on saying like, yep, did it again. Here's another book. Etsy, Dinosaurs versus Marsbots. Buy now. Follow me on my YouTube. Yep. And like, you know, like I would rather have a conversation with people who have at least seen it, if not read it. Like, actually, you know, so maybe like, I think the conversation will be better. And like I said, it'll be less pitchy. It'll be less like, just buy this thing that we can't even really meaningfully talk about. So getting books out in the mail tomorrow, I'm hoping like the Artcasters crew, Making Comics people, like those people, like shows I might go on, like they'll be able to read it soon. And therefore, I'll feel more comfortable talking about it publicly with people. So I'm looking forward to that. Actually, I don't know, like I would hope and enjoy talking to the Making Comic guys about it. But that might actually, since they're going to be here for Fan Fusion in a few weeks, I haven't even talked to them about it. I don't know what their idea is. Maybe they'll want to record a podcast when they're here, like we're all in person. And maybe that's when we can talk a little bit about 79. So that's, but like the Artcasters people, I hope sometime before Fan Fusion, I will be able to get onto Artcasters and talk about 79. As well as like the other places, like maybe the Crimson Owl guys will want to do something or whatever. I think the next major video I'll do before Fan Fusion will be an Ask Me Anything kind of deal. So start thinking about your questions now, and especially once you get 79, if that generates questions. Or about me, or about DvsM in general, or whatever. Like, so we'll do that. That will definitely be a video before Fan Fusion. There'll probably be at least one Fan Fusion related video of some type. Hopefully not just a rant about how much I hate Fan Fusion, but who knows? Anything's possible. And then later in June, probably, toward the end of June, I'll do a Dr. Veronica Wagner character creation and analysis video to go with. Remember, I did one for Jenny, I did one for Ruben. There'll be a new one for Dr. Wagner. That gets me through the next 6 weeks or so of what my plans are. So, okay. That's a good start. There's progress. There's progress. What I need to do now is, like, I have this tower of bagged and boarded comics right here. I need to figure out, I guess I might empty the box they came in and start transferring, like keep those in there. Maybe that's what I'll do. I got to figure out how to organize all this while I'm waiting for my new comic. I'm so impatient for the long box, even though, like, I know I'll eventually be able to fill 2. I'm almost inclined this week, like tomorrow or Tuesday, to just go and buy one somewhere. Like, go out and get it so I have it, so I can start. Because I would prefer put a lot of these in a long box that I will ultimately be taking to Fan Fusion. I don't know. There's a lot of comics to store. And again, I still haven't even gone into 75 box. And a 97 box shows up on Tuesday. So I've got a lot of inventory. A lot of inventory management in my future. All right, guys. 2 hours and 20 minutes. Entirely too long. Thank you all for coming by. Hope you're excited to read the new issue. I'm excited to get it out there, even though I'm having crazy, wacky dreams about it. I'm very proud of it. Yeah, and I'm eager just to sort of finish this cycle. Like, there's the planning, there's the doing, there's the getting it printed, and then there's the putting it in front of people. That's the last part. I'm eager to get there just to be like, another one done. It's still, even though I have the book right here, it doesn't feel fully done until people have it. So pretty soon though. As I mentioned on the outset, if you got it in your cart on Etsy, if you're thinking about ordering, I think you should order. Because again, there's some that I don't want to sell because I want to be able to go to FanFusion with enough just in case. I mean, I don't know how FanFusion will go. You never know. It's always different. But I know I will sell some books, and sometimes I sell a lot of books. So I need to set some aside for an optimistic FanFusion, which means I can't put everything on Etsy that I have. I got to try and like maintain some inventory for FanFusion. It's getting a little lean. Like I said, if everyone who has one in their cart checked out today, I might be sold out. So there's a chance that if you want one and you don't want to wait forever and you're not going to see me at FanFusion, you might want to move now just to be safe. If you're willing to wait some unknown amount of time or take your chances with me having leftover after FanFusion, or you're going to see me at FanFusion, don't worry about it. But if you're out of state, you're not going to FanFusion, and you don't want to potentially wait months to get the latest book, I would order in the next few days. And I'm not saying that it's not that I'm completely divorced from like self-interest. Like I think that's just, if you want it soon, I would order. But, thank you very much, Jim. Okay, I will see you all next weekend. I don't know what the topic will be. By then, a pile of books will be out. Some people will have them already, probably. I'll feel a little bit more like, okay, now we can move on to the next thing. So that'll be nice. Happy Mother's Day again to everyone who either is a mother and watching. Wish Happy Mother's Day from me, even though, of course, they don't even know who I am, and that will be really weird. But do it anyway, I insist. Say, by the way, Gary Hodges, writer of indie comic sensation DvsM, wishes you a happy Mother's Day. And I will see you next weekend. Take care, everybody. Should we do the trailer? Should I get in the habit? Like Josh shows his trailers a lot more than I do. Should I open and close every show with the trailer? I'm going to close with the trailer and then sign off. Until next time.